Welcome to Sisters Inc., our podcast for and about women business owners, brought to you by Black Enterprise. I'm your host, Elisa Gums. Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in America. And on every episode, we'll sit down with one successful CEO and share how she slays the challenges of being a Black woman in business. Today's episode is all about diversifying your revenue streams. We're chatting with Kathy Mason, principal of Greater Capital Area Real Estate Development, a Washington, D.C. based construction firm serving residential, commercial, and government markets that she founded in 2014 after she'd already been running a successful real estate brokerage and before she branched out into agricultural spaces with a 40-acre farm and event venue. Welcome to Sisters Inc., Kathy, and thanks so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you, Elisa. Thank you so much.
You have a bachelor's degree in building construction and a master's in urban planning. What initially sparked your passion for real estate?
So originally when I went to college, I told my dad I wanted to be a teacher. And my dad his family owned a roofing company in Tennessee, where I'm from, in Memphis. Shout out Memphis. And he had 5 daughters. And so he never let us go out on the roofs. It was always my cousins. We're like, we want to make some money too. He was like, no, it's for men. And so when I got to college, I went to Virginia Tech. So of course I had to pay out-of-state tuition. And I told my dad I wanted to be a teacher because he was a woodshop teacher full time. And they did roofing in the summer. And I said, I want to be a teacher too. He said, girl, you want to be a what? No, you cost too much. You're not going to be a teacher. You need to find another major. I said, okay. And so from there, I said, okay, maybe let me try this construction thing, because my sister, believe it or not, my older sister, she's in building construction as well. She's been in construction for 25 years at this point in Atlanta. And so I said, let me just try my hand at building construction and real estate. And that was the major at Virginia Tech. I graduated. I said, let me just keep going with this and do urban planning. I graduated. And while I was doing a master's degree, I was also working for Fortune 500 home builders in the sales department. And the most interesting thing is when I was in Virginia Tech doing building construction, the internships they had available to us as women were in the sales department for the Fortune 500 home builders. They just thought I should do sales and not do the construction part. So again, in every facet of my life, I've been boxed. You do sales, you do sales. And I had no problem doing sales because I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. I always went door to door selling Jesus. So I was fine with selling things that I was passionate about. But it got to the point where I asked the question, how can we make people afford homes? And the answer was, it's your job just to sell them. I said, this ain't for me. So I changed my trajectory. I started renovating houses in DC with my construction company. And I started to renovate affordable housing. So that's how I got from Virginia Tech into construction.
Well, before we get into construction, while you were working for those home builders, you got your real estate license. Was that, did you look at that as the first step in your entrepreneurial journey?
It was, because in my major, you had to take a real estate course for hours as part of credit hours. And they said, you can just go ahead and take the license and you can get the license if you've already taken the course. So I just sat and took the license. And there I was, an entrepreneur from a class I took in college.
Your real estate brokerage has now expanded to 10 states and to Puerto Rico. So you started your diversification with geographic diversification. What was that expansion process like for you?
Once you are licensed in one state, you can get reciprocity in other states by taking tests, just the state portion of the test. So my thought process was, if I wanted to expand my business, I should probably get licensed in other states, because I just didn't want to sell houses. I knew I wanted to expand. And it was a time where it was the same thing in college. You might as well, since you already have the reciprocity opportunity, take the opportunity to just keep getting reciprocity. Now, mind you, especially like for Puerto Rico, I had to go to Puerto Rico 4 or 5 times just to pass that test because I don't speak Spanish. And the units for the test are in Castiles. And I'm like, I have no, see, exactly. Castile, CAS, I still don't know what it is. But I went back 4 or 5 times, which wasn't so bad because I was in Puerto Rico. Shout out to a write-off. And and so for me, I'm the kind of person, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. So a few times, a few tests I had to take over and over again, and I had the time to do it. So
it's so great that you've got the business attitude of like, just keep doing it, just keep going, doing the work. I think what scares a lot of entrepreneurs about expanding into new physical areas is like, how am I going to manage a business like in this place and that place and then another place? You're up to like 10 different places now. So what was that learning curve like for you of being able to manage in different areas?
I will say I'm human. And what I'm learning is I need more operations. I need more people helping me with marketing. I need all the things. So I am not perfect, but I lean heavily on my faith. And every day I say, God, just give me the strength. I'm going to keep going. You said, work with your hands. That's 1 Thessalonians 4:11. It says, work with your hands and let others speak well of you. And so that's how I'm meeting you today. So I just keep working. It is very difficult sometimes to be distracted by the systems of the world, but just having a strong faith in that God has you, as long as you know that He's your source and your power, you can never be without. So, how I keep going is I have faith of a mustard seed, but my greens are good. Hello.
I love that. You're like, I work on faith and operational support, and that's how we get it done.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the construction company. You started it in 2014. Tell us about what it does and what it was like to get it off the ground.
Okay. And part of too of why I had to do construction is that I bought properties in various states, and a lot of what I do is uh, is working, not working, is sweat equity. So I love working with my hands. And so because of the sweat equity, I used to rely heavily on other contractors to help me with some of the projects. And I was doing this at the same time I was working for the home builders. So you talk about two pressures of managing people to do the work you kind of know how to do, and then people telling you that the work that you do is not necessarily beneficial for all people. So you got to remember, people telling me make people for housing, and then me paying people to do work that I already know how to do and they're not doing it well. So it's this pressure. And sometimes God puts you in positions where you're like, what is all this pressure and he's trying to make things work? Well, he says, neither of those things are supposed to work in the way that which they're working, because that's not what I told you to do. He said, I didn't send you to college to work in a sales office just to make money. You have a purpose. And sometimes when you don't humble yourself and realize your purpose, although it may not be monetarily what you think you need, God will provide a humility in that, bring you low enough to realize you need to start from zero, because that's not what I said. So I quit my job. I was 20 some, man, I was making 200 grand as a 20-year-old, like buying properties because it was 2010, stuff was dirt cheap. Just, everything was working, but it wasn't. I wasn't spending my resources and the things that were given to me by God in the way He wanted me to use them. So again, He brings you low. So you go from 6 figures to 0. But with all these things, now go make it work how I want you to make it work. So from there, everything I learned in college, everything I was taught from my family, everything I was taught as growing up in my religion as a child, I used all those things to make it work.
Construction is a very male dominated industry. And, you mentioned it earlier when you said your dad had a roofing company with 5 daughters and he never let you get out, none of you on a roof. You were not only a woman, you were a young woman. How did you sort of overcome those challenges as the boss?
Um, but everybody got to remember, and I'm going to go back to this because he is my source. Not only I have an earthly father, I have a heavenly father. So my dad rules over everything else. So he gives me strength. He gives me power. He gives me all the things that I need to succeed. Even today, I get the same pushback that I got from my earthly father, from the corporations, from my whole life. It's been the same pushback because I look a certain way, because I'm happy, because I have a spirit that I have to be in this box. But just watching the examples of my sister, watching the examples, even my mother, as she worked, uh, I have to say that if that's not what I'm supposed to do, I have to keep pushing forward in the way he wants me to push forward. I'm here to help people. I'm here to help people reach their highest potential. I'm here to create generational wealth for people. And he has literally given me all the tools, if I can do it for myself, use all those tools to teach people. You can teach a person you can give a person a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. And yes, teaching them how to fish may take a little bit longer, but at least you're teaching them. And if they can take it or they can leave it, and if they get old, they can remember how to fish and teach somebody else. So that's my purpose. I just got to keep going. And despite all the other obstacles of being an attractive woman, I know what the end job is.
When you started the construction company, did you see the bigger picture of how it was going to fit in to your business life, or were you just, taking that first step on faith and that's all you saw? Or was there a whole vision?
People say you haven't, I still don't have a vision. It's not for me to understand. It's just not for me to. So for me, even being here in this space, people come and see, oh, wow, you have a vision. But in my mind, I'm like, this is just a drop in the bucket of whatever's happening, because this is just not it. It's very exciting to see, but I'm like, it's just a little piece of, I know what is inside of me that this is a small piece. So vision, I know how to keep going and going and working and get weary, take rest, sleep well, and get up and continue to work. I have and we'll get into the farming space, but as you see what God has already created, and you see the animals and how in which they move, and you watch little ants move in colonies without a queen, and they keep doing the work. They keep doing the work, and they move together. And that's another thing communally. I was taught with 4 older sisters, the best sisters and an older brother, the best family I could ever have. Work communally together, because that's the only way. Individualism does not work, especially with our culture.
So you mentioned the farm, and of course, most recently you have diversified into agricultural spaces, and you can now add farmer to your many titles with Marcellus Farms. Tell us how that started and how it came into being.
Yes. That's actually my favorite title is farmer. It's just so simple. It's just so unassuming. I love that one. Okay. So how I started in farming, it was COVID. It was 2020. And I was walking my dog in the city. I have a house in Capitol Hill. And, I'm doing my jish. I'm like, yay, got my little construction company. Yay, got my little brokerage doing well. Hey, hey, hey. And I'm like, I got it. And then I'm walking in COVID, and God said, move. I'm like, okay. He said, go buy land. I said, okay, what am I doing with land? That is not my model. He said, see, there you go again. Just go. And I always say God has 3 letters, and that's the G-O-D. And the first 2 letters are go, for, and the backwards is do, D-O. So he said go, and go and do. That's the Alpha and Omega, go and do. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. I said, well, can you at least put some on like a house? Help me monetize it quickly. He said, just go. So I bought my first 6-acre farm in Prince George's County, Maryland. And Prince George's is one of the most the wealthiest Black county in the United States. And what I find is, although we're the wealthiest Black county, most of the land is owned by the state and farmers who are not Black. So my goal, I said, if I'm moving out of DC, if I'm going to Prince George's, fine, we buy lots of land. So in 2.5 years, I bought a 6-acre farm, a 12-acre farm, and a 41-acre farm. And I'm like, each time I'm like, so who gonna cut this grass? Funniest story. When I bought the first 6-acre farm, I called my mechanical engineer. He does all my HVAC. His name is Chet at CJ Mechanical. And I said, Chet, you know anybody who can come help me to cut some trees? Because at least I want to go ahead and get. So he said, let me call this person. So he called a guy, nicest guy. He was a horseman. He was a Black horseman in a group of Black riders. And I asked him, I said, do you know anybody who needs a farm or something? He said, actually, me and my friends are looking for a farm. And they had 8 horses and they took care of the farm. And I had a group of Black horsemen who lived on my farm, my second farm. And I was like, okay. So then the next story is, it's all about multiplication. God multiplies, he does. And so then after I bought that farm, I found another farm. It was 40 acres. And I called all my clients, my high dollar clients. And I was like, hey, everybody, there's this 40-acre farm down the street. Does anybody want it? And they were like, it's a lot of work. But I was like, it's 8 houses, it's croplands, it's horse field. And they were like, nah, Kat, that sounds like a lot. I said, okay, God, we're going to do this because we're not going to let this one go. He said, go. He said, you're not letting it go, just go. So I called around. I couldn't get financing through, because this was really expensive. This one was over $1 million. Called around. No one would give me a loan through USDA or things like that because they said I didn't have enough farming experience. And I'm like, but I own a farm. Neither here nor there. And from there, I said, you know what? Let me sell this house in DC. So I had multiple houses in DC. I sold one, made a good amount of money, and was able to put a down payment on the farm through a CDFI. And they financed me not because of the farm, because the rental units on the farm. So we were able to do a pro forma based off the rents on the rental units. Again, I'm like, who's going to cut this grass? It's 40 acres. Like, now I skated through last time. How are we going to skate through this time? And so I closed and I'm like, damn. And I pull up, no joke. And I see this old Black guy on a tractor. And I'm like, what in the world? And he is just cutting the grass. And I said, sir, how can I help you? He was like, yeah, my name is Joe Wills. I've been mowing this for 13 years. I cut it and I roll it and I feed the hay to my cattle. He said, do you mind if I keep doing it? I said, keep the party going. And so I'm like, and I can do stories after stories after stories after stories. The only thing that hinders me and stops me from my purpose is my blinders. That's the only thing that stops me. So I have to keep going, and that's the inspiration I want to give to other people. The only person who really gets in your way is yourself. And I have to trust that God has a bigger purpose. And if as long as I do it in his name, he will allow me to continue to steward. So I look at myself as a steward of all the things that he gives me. And I want to help and encourage other people to trust him to steward and not hold it for yourself.
Yes. I mean, your trust has definitely been blessed. But hearing the story, it's so amazing because you were like, you weren't a farmer beforehand. You didn't have an experience being a farmer. And you're like, I bought this 40 acres, which is not small, $1 million farm, which is not cheap. And you're like, and my biggest worry is who's going to cut the grass? Like it's almost, it's almost unbelievable how fortuitous it seems, but I just want you to talk through some of that work that you had put in, because you mentioned a lot of things, that you went to the USDA, you went to a community development financial institution, and eventually found financing there. But was this a situation where you were really leaning on your network, or leaning on resources that you had built up over time working in this space? Because most people can't just go out and buy a farm.
So here we are, right? You make excellent points. I will say that the team that I had to put together to help me finish my building that the last contractor didn't help me finish is the same team that I've used to renovate this place. And so having the same group of people and moving with the same group of people throughout this journey. So I have the same roofer, I have the same mechanical contractor, I have the same electrician, I have the same people that I have used throughout my journey, because they looked out for me. They even still look out for me when times I'm like, hey y'all, I know I need to get this done, but I don't like credit. And they're like, Kat, say less. I know you got us. So let's just get this stuff done. So it is a team of a lot of things. People who you know, like, and trust. And shout out to Nicole Culver and Dee Marshall and everybody in the Boat Collective, because you guys have been awesome in just supporting me, just spiritually at this point. But knowing, like, and trusting the people that are doing the work, who see your vision before you even see it. My family. When I tell you, I have the best brothers and sisters. So my brother, I love him to death. When my parents got divorced, he was like number 1 or 2 in his class. He had college scholarships he didn't even know about. They were just reading them off. But he decided not to go away to college and stay behind and help my mom raise his 5 little sisters. And so me and all my sisters went to college. Some do construction, some do logistics, one is a financial planner, and we all excelled. And he's just happy that we excel. He doesn't want for anything. And my brother, he's the happiest man. He works at a gas station. He wins the lottery almost every week because he has a matrix. He knows, like, he works at a gas station, but he's paid thousands a week just from playing the numbers. I'm like, bro, what? He's like, nope, y'all can have the money. But what happened was, because he's helped us to be who we are and helped us to have a foundation. His birthday was November 20th. And for Thanksgiving, which was the 24th last year, I surprised him, and I brought my whole family to the farm right before I finished it. And I said, congratulations. Thank you for all the things that you've done for me, big brother. I named the farm Marcus Marcellus Farms. And so I named the farm after my brother, and he was just so shocked. It was the best thing.
It's a beautiful family story.
So yeah. Okay, you got it. You got it, Alyssa. Woo! Okay. But yeah, my family's been great. I have a great crew of friends around me. I've had the same friends since college. And even in college, I told my girlfriends, I said, hey girls, one of them reminded me of this when we graduated. I said, hey, this is when I first started real estate. I said, why don't we buy a big piece of land together? And everybody, we just build houses and live like communally. And then until we figure it out. And I totally forgot about that. And I said that maybe 22 years ago. And one of my girlfriends said to me when she came, she was like, Kathy, you know what? You said we should have did this 22 years ago as a group of friends when we graduated college. And you did it. I was like, oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Yeah. And it's just so serendipitous. And my family, right before COVID, we said to ourselves, hey, we need to find somewhere where we can live together communally in like 20 or 30 years. We all have, and this is what my sister said. She said, we all have our own little houses, because I only have one niece and one nephew. And it's 6 of us, and I'm the youngest. And she said, we need to find a place where we can be. where each of us have our own little house because we like each other, but we don't really. And so my niece and my nephew can come, just feed us applesauce and put socks on our feet, and we can hover around. So the plan is in 30 years or so, when it's time for us all to retire, we're just going to take the big farm that has 8 houses on it and just live here. It's going to be a retirement community, and we'll just hover around, have our own space. So we know where we are. So everyone knows death is death, but at least we know where we will be before we die. And the question is, what are we going to do as a family between the time we're here and right now? So what we're doing is planning strategically as a family how we can impact the world between now and being here together on hover rounds, looking at each other.
Yeah. And that goes back to the themes that you were talking about earlier: communal living, communal work, and generational wealth.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple more questions for you. With all of these hats that you're wearing, real estate agent, general contractor, farmer, it is a lot of managing a lot of different things. You mentioned earlier operational support. Can you share with other entrepreneurs out there the kind of operational support they need in order to be able to manage as many things as you do?
Okay. First and foremost, God is the biggest operational support. I got to give it to him. I have to. But even in this season, Alyssa, I've learned that I cannot do it all by myself. I can try to depend on other people. And I will even say in the season of this farming operation is another business. I didn't know it would be another business. It is starting again from the bottom. But this time it's starting from the bottom with a higher debt to pay out. Let's start with there, okay? It's a bigger debt to pay monthly. I can't go shopping and do the things I did 10 years ago. You know that part. But it is forcing me again to say, Kathy, if you say everything is communal, tap into your resources that will help you sustain your operation. So my sister, I love her to death. She says, Kathy, when you're ready, and she's the one who does the financial planning. She said, when you're ready, I'm here to help you with the operations. She said, because it's a lot. And I'm like, okay, I got it. But I called her. I said, nope, I need you right now. And it's great that I have a family who's willing to help right now, but and who knows me, who knows my heart, who knows my spirit, who knows my journey, who is invested in me to see where my weaknesses are and to see where they can have my back. So that's the biggest part. And the other biggest part is, yeah, they want to get paid, but not right now. Hello? And so I'm just fortunate in that I have a family who is, she don't want that money right now. I said, okay, girl, come on. But operationally, leaning on people who can help you in seasons. And if you do not have the resources in that season, just know that they are investing in you and look at it as, if they're going to invest in me now, I have to share part of my returns in the near future. So operationally, I have my sister coming to do operations. My other sister doesn't know it yet, but as I hope to expand my operations with support of the Boat Collective, I'm going to tap into her to do some construction management. She doesn't know it yet because she's been doing it for a couple of decades now. And I'm just
She's going to find out real soon.
Hello, Kiki. And she could be like, girl, I know you did not put me on video saying, yes, I did. So, Kiki, this is a job offer. Don't even know how I'm going to pay you yet, but we're going to work on it. I'm going to tap into the support who has been there for me from birth because they all have skills. My brother put together, my mother and father put together an awesome group of kids who love and support each other, who are talented, who are smart. So tap into those resources as well. And then I have this wonderful group called the Boat Collective that I've joined a couple years ago, who see what I'm trying to do, what I am doing here, and are in full support in any way they can be. So I'm blessed.
Over the last 5 years, we've been through both a global pandemic and a housing crisis. As someone who's in real estate, what has having diverse revenue streams meant for you business-wise through all of that?
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. I moved, whew, man. So I've done real estate forever, and I make great money by myself, in real estate. But something keeps telling me to push and push and push, and it's nothing that I am doing that's making me push. Some force is pushing me, and so my good lender, who I send a lot of business to, he says to me all the time, "Kathy, why are you doing all that other stuff? Just go sell a bunch of houses." And I'm like, "But I know. But as I see the real estate industry change, I know that I've already made that pivot. So it's great to have already made the pivot before. It's like something sees something happening before it happens. So these pivots that I keep making, something is pushing me to make these pivots. And now that's why I'm in the agricultural space. There is a need for agricultural spaces. There's a need for food security. There's a need to retreat. There's a need for mental health. There's a need for all these things that, from buying real estate to being in a space where people need, they need release. They need retreat. People need to get away. People need healthy food. People need all the things that agricultural space can provide. And luckily, I've done construction. I've done real estate. I know, and I'm human. I've had some health issues, and through just changing my diet, I've seen differences. So I've sometimes experienced these things, these shifts, to anticipate what I think where society is going to go.
The last question I have for you, Kathy, is as someone who has successfully done it, what advice can you share with other entrepreneurs about how important it is to diversify their revenue streams and how they can actually accomplish that?
Okay. It's important to diversify your revenue stream because the economy will constantly change. It will be ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows. And today, AI is in. 10 years ago, AI was in, but not for us. So it's constantly important to change because you can't pigeonhole yourself into something or you'll be stuck there. When cyclical changes happen and it's not to your own majesty or your own force, it's just how society moves. And you have to diversify because you don't want to get pigeonholed or stuck in a place where you can't move. And nothing's worse than not being able to move when you want to move. So move on your own accord, move with the will of God versus moving where society says you need to move. It's not true. Pray about it, be vigilant about it, and keep doing the work. Please just keep doing the work. And there's nothing wrong with communal work. There's nothing wrong with working together as groups. That is how we have survived years and centuries of oppression, because we do the work. We are still here because we do the work. And so how does diversification help? If you continue doing the work, it will move you to diversification.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your small business success story. Everyone out there, please take a look at her company websites, movetothecapital.com and marcellusfarms.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at Marcellus Farms Estate. Check out the podcast channel on blackenterprise.com to find Sisters Inc. and other podcasts from Black Enterprise editors, writers, and experts. Be sure to subscribe to Sisters Inc. on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you like what you hear, show us some love by leaving a 5-star review or put a sister on by spreading the word. I'm Elisa Gums with Sisters Inc. for Black Enterprise. Thank you for listening.